Hi, Anne Claire.
Hi, Meg.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm tired.
Do you want to tell people what we just talked about?
I was thinking about it. I feel like the people need to know.
So, what were we talking about?
So I need to hear everyone's opinion about this, and I need to hear yours. I went on a date last night, and essentially, I was really excited because this guy seemed to have a huge plan to impress me. He invited me on a date at the nicest, most expensive place in town. It's like seafood. We get there. He orders oh my gosh, an oyster sampler. We're testing oysters. We get entrees, drinks, a dessert. He was super nice. I wasn't like enamored with him, but I was definitely feeling a spark ish. Like I felt like there was some potential. I wasn't in love or anything, but I was like, this guy's really putting his best foot forward. And I think that's really impressive. So I was just having a good time, enjoying the date. And then at the end of the date, and this is where I think everyone has opinions, but at the end of the date, I nicely offered to split the bill. But I typically kind of expect on a first date at a very nice place for the person I'm out with say, oh, I got this one. It's been, totally on me, or just say, oh, I got this. Like maybe you can get the tip, or like they kind of take care of you and like dine you because they're trying to impress you. But he goes, oh, yeah, equal opportunity, and just takes my card and we split the bill. And it ended up being like $125 to meet this guy out. And I'm feeling so weird about it. And I don't know what to think. Like, maybe I shouldn't have offered, but I felt like that's the polite thing to do. And I usually read body language because, like, if there are some dates I've been on where a guy will like literally push his card at the waiter or server and be like, take it, like make sure I don't even get a chance to even participate in that. But he was like really lingering with the bill. So I kind of felt like I should at least offer politely. So I don't know, it was a weird end to the night, totally killed any like potential for me. At least I just felt like, why would you invite me to the nicest place in town? We could have gone to pizza. I would have been happy. So I don't know. Anne Claire, what's your take on this?
Well, actually, I just realized I have two things that I have like in
Okay.
terms of like thoughts, families
Okay.
of thoughts.
Let's share.
So just like on the actual date thing, honestly, I'm so like, first of all, I haven't dated in like 10 years. So, okay, please forgive my, like grandma-ish opinion
Well, I
about
feel like a
this.
grandma. It's been 5
But,
years since I dated too. Like I just back. So I
yeah, here's the thing. Like, I feel cool about sharing bills anytime I go out. Obviously, with my husband, we're like, it's our money. It doesn't matter. But I mean, like with friends, with whatever. And when friends go on dates, I find that it's completely cool and normal here to split bills with a big caveat here, which is in this case, it sounds like someone invited you to like the fanciest place they could, and they are taking sort of like not only responsibility to choose the place, but when you get there to choose what you're ordering, right? So it's like, well, if you're taking that responsibility, it feels a bit weird to then place that the responsibility of paying the price for that and give that to the person you invited. And I actually mean that even for friends. Like if I have someone who wants to impress like us as, I don't know, or me or whatever, and take us or me out to a fancy dinner place, sure. But don't expect me to come and start paying for the thing that you wanted to take me to, especially if you're like then choosing for me to have like the taster dinner with 7 courses. Like I probably cannot even afford that. So don't put it on me. Like that, I find that a bit weird. But here's the thing. You said I wanted to be polite, and so I offered. And here's the one thing that I'm still trying to learn and act on. We're not supposed to just be polite. Like, that's not our job as women. Like, I know we're taught that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
be nice, be friendly, be polite, don't make a problem, don't be too much, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, I'm done with that. Or at least I tried to be done with that. So if someone's asking, like, and inviting me to like that sort of place, I would have waited it out. Been like, you know what? You invited me. Like, I don't know what you're expecting from me at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, thanks. It was nice.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I sometimes will wait it out, but I was kind of reading the situation, and it's all a very fleeting few moments, right? Like, it's not like you really know. So some people, like I said, I was trying to read the body language, and I felt compelled to offer because he was being kind of moseying with it, like lingering. But yeah, I was thinking if it wasn't a genuine offer, maybe I shouldn't have offered. But I also don't want to come across as entitled by just sitting there and expecting, not even, like, I think in dating, it's like kind of a dating ritual or like a tradition for the woman to at least offer. And then the guy says,
Yeah, I'm not good at traditions. So
no, I got this. Like, I'm going to push this card away. Like, I don't even want you to think about it.
no, I get that. Right. I totally understand that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, the whole situation's a bit weird. What's for sure is that he didn't win points, and it didn't.
Like, he didn't impress me. I was like, oh, cool. Like, you failed
weird.
you failed my test.
Well, it's odd for that to be a test too, right? Because it's like, if he had taken you to, like, I don't know, like the small restaurant down the road and you had like a chill, nice moment, it's different because it wouldn't have been like, here I am trying to shove in your face that I can afford to do this and then make you pay for half of it. That's the part that I feel weird about. Because I have been in those situations in the past, not on dates, but with friends, or where I'm at a place. I've had that happen, actually. It was highly uncomfortable. But I'm invited to a place and it's like a medium, large group of people. And it's clearly above my sort of range that I would usually go to. So I go there, and when I do that with close friends, we all agree that if we go to that nicer place because it matters to one of us, which could be the case, right? But that person can also not afford to pay for everyone else. The understanding is we pay for our orders, which makes sense, right? Because then I can say, actually, I'm coming here because it matters to you as my close friends. If I don't know, it's your birthday, whatever, great. But I'm choosing the cheaper end of the dishes because that's what I can afford. And I'm cool with that because that's sort of like my gift to you is that I'm coming and you don't have to pay for this whole thing, right? So I've been in a situation where we were invited, but they were not like close friends. I just made the assumption that it's the same rule that applies, right? Where it's like you pay for what you were consuming, and people were like ordering like super fancy drinks, and cocktails, and champagne, and and I was like, okay, well, if they want to spend that money, that's fine. Like, but that's not really where I'm at financially. And then the bill arrives, and they're like, let's split it equally. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I've been in that situation before.
And it's like. I'm sorry, but like this makes me highly uncomfortable. So yeah, I don't like that. I find that really icky.
I think this, essentially the bottom line is I'm down to split a date pretty much whenever, but if you're going to invite me to the super nice place, I'm going to think it's a little rude to have us split. It's not like we planned this date together.
Yeah.
I was kind of I wouldn't have picked this place if I had known. But yeah, I think if we had pizza and he's like, yeah, sure, like happy, let's split it, I wouldn't have thought much about it.
Well, because you feel like you've not been like, well, you have not honored your boundaries, and he clearly has not either.
Yeah. And so it's so interesting. I did talk to a friend about this, and she was like, Meg, this is a first date. Like, if someone's going to impress you, now's the time to do it. Like the first date is when someone puts their best, if anything, their best foot forward. If he's not going to do it now, when will he ever do it? And I was like,
The thing is, what you have not told the people on this recording yet is that you told me the guy was like coming at you with like the big guns, like, I'm doing so well in life, I'm successful. Like, when you come with that, communication, don't do that at the end of the day. That's weird.
That's what he was doing. Yeah, I guess
Like, it's all talk, no doing. And it's like, it's like recovery. If you just talk about it a lot and you don't do anything about it, not going so great.
Plus, he was like, oh, I do really well for myself, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, great. And then it didn't really line up with the actions at the end. So
I don't know. But again, I'm all for equality, even though that's nice in theory, practice is not there. But yeah, it's just this context made it all a bit weird. Let's put it this way. And to be clear, I would have felt as icky if it had been like friend with friend and, not even a date thing or like same gender identification, whatever, around the table. Same feeling about the, out of my range and my range sort of thing. That would not have changed. But yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like in my head, I'm like, I would have spent that money going to like a concert or something. I don't need to spend that much to meet some.
I would have listened to someone else than you, dude.
Yeah, like that's like a kind of night I want to save, like for people I know and care about. Like I want to go to a cool like music festival in a few weekends, and like maybe that would have been nice. Or I'm going to New York this weekend. Maybe I could have used that with dinner with friends I actually care about. So it's so interesting. But anyway, to sum it up, because my parents hear all the gossip when I get home. And then my mom hears all the gossip when I get home from the dates. And my dad knows it the next morning because my mom tells him when I'm asleep. So I woke up and my dad already was filled in. And his quote was, he made a fatal mistake. And that was
Thanks, Dad.
I was like, well put, Dad. Well said. Well said.
So this is what you should text him. Fatal mistake.
Oh, so this is another thing. So I did actually kind of mention, because he's like, so feeling it or not for a second date. He messaged me right after because there was no vibe. Like the end of the date, I kind of was just pulling away at that point. And so I did message him saying, oh, I'm just used to someone insisting if they ask to take someone out to a really nice place. And I have not heard from him. So I don't know if he could take the heat, but.
Well, you literally walked all over your boundaries already. So you held them up. Is that how you would say that in English? Like you sort of like, at least you were honest with yourself and with him. So, that's fair. To me, that's fair.
I honestly didn't want him thinking that I didn't like him as a person or that I wasn't interested. I think I would have gone on a second date with someone who really treated me that nicely and who actually put their best foot forward. I would have at least met him again. But at this point, I'm like, I'm pushing it too hard. I'm just going to let it go.
Oh, well.
Why? I'm really like, I'm chalking up some great date stories, like really good ones. This one doesn't.
When you'll be Grandma Meg, you'll have those really hilarious stories to tell your grandkids.
So entertaining. This is like a great experience. Just going home and telling my mom what I come home with. Crazy.
Oh, it's life. It's dating life. I mean, that's what I say. I haven't done that in a long time. But.
I'm just excited I'm realizing Connecticut might not be my place forever. And I might need to move back to New York City again. And if that's the case, I'm excited to be around a ton of people and just meet people out, meet people walking around. Like it's very natural to meet people in real life in New York. At least that was my experience last time I lived there. So if I end up there, maybe I won't have to use the apps.
You'll have plenty of fish in the sea.
Yes.
Sharks.
Exactly.
Sure, you'll have plenty of because that is your reference now.
Yeah, plenty of sharks in this. Okay, we should.
No, you're the shark. You're the shark. They are the fish.
Yeah, that's really exciting for them to date a shark. They're going to love it.
Oh, well. Oh, well. If they don't know what they're missing.
I know. Honestly, I am in such a good place. I'm so happy right now. I feel very aligned. I feel very relaxed.
There we go.
Yeah. The dating's a side thing. Really, I'm just so happy working with you, creating content with my clients, with my podcast. Like everything just feels so amazing in other areas of life. And I'm like not pushing it. I'm just so peaceful right now. So I couldn't be asking for any more, to be honest.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Now,
Let's move on to a new topic.
well, it's not really new because
Oh,
the question is about going out and eating out. So we received a question about what has changed when we go out to eat to a restaurant with others in the eating disorder years, recovery versus now. So
what changed so much?
where would you start?
Do you want to go first? I feel like sometimes I go first and I want to let you go first if you want to share.
Oh, it's just, there's so much. Like, I don't have to think about as much, like literally, like the overthinking involved with going out and eating out with others is completely different game. And by that, I mean, literally, like, I don't have to check the menu before and sort of like start thinking about, okay, like, what can I have? What will I have? What do I need to ask to change on the menu? And what can I have now for later? Or how will I have to compensate, negotiate, those like literally scientific computations about the impacts of this sheer fact of going out to eat, thoroughly non-existent. I will say, I sometimes still check the menus ahead because I'm excited about going out to a new restaurant and tasting something new, right? Especially if someone's like, oh my God, best restaurant ever. I'm like, yay, let's get excited. But the spirit is completely different, right? It's not like, ooh, I need to be worried. It's like, yum. What am I going to get? Just keeping it real here. Ordering as it is and not being like, can you change that? Not have that, like, I'm not going to have this kind of food on my plate. I want like no carbs, veggies, extra
Sauce on the
veggies
side,
instead, like sauce on the side. Yeah, those sorts of things. Not a thing. I mean, of course I have food preferences, but I rarely, if ever, have like the thought of, oh, this dish needs tweaking. Actually, on the contrary, I'm like, I want to have it in the version that this chef thinks is best, right? Because like, how else am I supposed to taste the authentic version of what that person wants to present to me and propose as their art, really? Because in my opinion, they're artists. No guessing or counting of calories and whatnot. Now, I know that that's a blessing. I live in Belgium. We don't have calories plastered on menus. It's very rare that they appear anywhere. So that means that I had to do the guessing game. Not a fun game to play. I don't recommend that. But I know that in many other countries, people don't even have the option. They're just going to like be fed to that information. Being present in conversations, like instead of being like receiving the food and then thinking about, oh no, that's not what I thought this was going to be. And like, ooh, I can see like there's more of this than I thought. Or like, oh, and I have a bigger plate than this other person. And what are they going to think of me? I feel like I've been to so many dinners in my eating disorder years or in recovery still where I can't remember a thing that I talked about, whatever someone was telling me, because I was so stuck, bless you, in my head that I couldn't just be there, At the same time, like this food was sort of like a high in a way, like as much as I do get excited about food sometimes, because food is exciting to an extent, and food can be a source of excitement, it's not like a class A drug sort of reaction. It's not like, oh my God, good tasting food. It's like, of course, the food is sometimes going to be a bit more the focus, but I'm usually, if I'm going out with friends, I'm there for the going out with friends. And the food can take a back seat really easily, and I can be so present. Like I said, like no, like compensating, negotiating. And I was going to say something else. Ooh, you know how I've been to so many dinners where I was tweaking and, doing all this thing about changing what I was ordering. I end up the meal, which was supposed to be like, the high point of the day because, food and whatnot. And I'm still not satisfied because, well, of course, I changed content of the plate. So, there's something missing there. And I didn't actually even feel satisfied from my meal. Mm. And also, I still don't know anything about anyone and whatever they said. So it's not exactly a success. Yeah, that's how I would summarize. Or like getting ridiculously stressed. I remember, and I apologize. My brother's never going to watch this.
Listing off like 50 points.
I know. And just like, you asked me, and I'm like, just telling you. I have this bad memory. I'll share it. My brother will never watch this, but if he does, I hope he forgives me for this. But we went to Paris for his 30th birthday, and I had to plan a lot that weekend. Don't ask me why, but I was still like in recovery, and I was not doing so great, and I was so freaked out. I was like a ball of energy and frustration and fear. Like, that's my experience of that weekend. And I took it out on my dad. Great. He was so disappointed. I could see his face being like, you have disappointed me so much, daughter. And I was like, oh, I hate myself. But also, like, I was overthinking everything so much that I'm pretty sure I ruined dinner for everyone. Like, because I was just like, you're oozing this energy of like, like stress and worry. And I was like worried about the next day breakfast because, of course, in Paris, you're going to have croissants and all the things. And then, we're having dinner now and we have all these foods that are scary and it's not great. So not only did I ruin the experience for myself, I'm pretty sure I also ruined the experience for others. And I don't feel fantastic about it. I snapped at my dad. It wasn't even a food thing. It was so we were supposed to go to Le Louvre, so the museum, right, in Paris. And my brother didn't give a damn about going to the Louvre. So we were like, you know what? It's your birthday weekend. You do whatever you want. And he was happy to have some time just with his girlfriend in Paris. Totally understand. And we were like, well, you go do you, and we'll just meet up tonight for dinner, right? Again, this is supposed to be chill, just like fun time, like all the expenses paid weekend for you. So, you have fun and do it your way. And we decided to go to the Louvre with my parents. And then for some odd reason, like I couldn't get in touch with my dad. And we were supposed to meet at the Louvre at a specific time because, you get those tickets with like a timestamp. And I couldn't find them. And at the time, my very bad relationship with food translated also in a very bad relationship with money and with time. So time was like a trigger for me. It was like really like anything that had to do with time and planning and schedule. It was like already a massive trigger. And then add to that the people that are closest to you. I mean, it's just like, how hard can you make it? And basically we couldn't find each other. His phone died or whatever. And then I just got so angry. Like I literally lost it at him. I got like really like not nice. And he looked at me and he didn't say anything, but he looked at me and like I could read in his eyes, in the cartoons, like you can read words on someone's eyes. I was reading like, what the S is wrong with you? Why are you snapping this bad? Like, we're just going to the effing museum. Like, just chill.
Yeah.
It was not chill for me. Like everything, like the entire weekend was like challenge after challenge in terms of fear foods, in terms of no movement, in terms of like family schedule. It was just like, it was not great. So that was a lot. You got more than you bargained for.
The eating disorder brings out the worst in us. And that's an example of it. Just, looking back, it's very easy to remember moments where you're like, wow, I was not myself at all. And others felt it and saw it. And
well, they didn't know that I had an eating disorder. So I didn't tell them. I didn't tell my parents until I was basically recovered. So it's not like, I'm angry that they didn't say something specific about it, like on the basis of them knowing. They didn't know. I don't hold that against them in any sort of way, because they didn't know. But they must have thought like, like why? like, what's the deal? But yeah, so that's that. What is your experience in recovery versus, before?
I could cite a lot of echo a lot of what you said, but I will just say general experience shifted drastically from hyper focusing on the food and feeling out of control in those moments to getting really joyfully excited about the food and picking what I want. And that's where recovery really transformed the restaurant experience for me. Because I felt like it was self betrayal. It was like soul betrayal going to restaurants when I was sick and looking at all the delicious food on the menu and only allowing myself to have that stupid light salad or whatever that I just was forcing myself to eat with grilled chicken, basic, nothing interesting.
I would like the iceberg salad with the dried chicken, no salt.
Ugh. Dressing on the side. I can't. And that would kill my soul. I would remember longing to have the other foods on the menu. And so the most transformative experience for restaurants with me was actually ordering things that satisfied me mentally and physically and getting excited, ordering based on, okay, this is a place that's really famous for this steak or the pasta dishes and recognizing this is my opportunity. I'm not going to get a little soup and salad if I'm at this amazing steak restaurant where I could have something the chef has prepared and put a lot of thought into. I really do care about having that food experience now, about the flavor combinations, making sure I don't exclude certain ingredients or certain things. And that's been so amazing. And I remember when I was at restaurants when I was really sick, and another thing that would happen was I would feel felt bingy to me because I always ate way more than I wanted. In the US, the portions are also huge a lot of times, as you know. So sometimes I would sit and have this huge plate of something I didn't really want. And it was that opportunity for me to finally eat. So in my head, I would always go over whatever my perceived limit was. And I'd clear my plate and still feel this dissatisfaction, mentally at least. I'd be physically feeling gross, mentally feeling like I need more, I didn't get what I wanted. And I would start stealing food off of people's plates. I would be like, oh, that looks good. And I'd use my fork and grab some of their food. I look back at that and I'm just like, girl, you should have just ordered their meal. If you wanted it, you should have just ordered that, and I feel like it's just very interesting looking back at the behaviors I had. And I always was so focused on this out of control feeling and not being present, as you said. Just now I go to restaurants for the vibe, the atmosphere, the people, and the best food I can find. I'm ordering something that I really want.
Yeah, it's funny because when you were talking, I was thinking the satisfaction factor is not only that you choose really what you want, but it's also that you didn't restrict the entire day, because it's really hard to be satisfied, especially if you have an eating meal out. If you didn't eat properly during the day, it's going to be so hard to be satisfied with your evening meal. And that's something that took so much time for me to actually compute and experience, of being like, oh, I actually enjoy the meal more because I've been honoring my needs and hunger the entire day and not despite of it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I completely.
And then, hold it, I had two thoughts when you were talking. Oh yeah, I choose what I actually want. And that may be a fear food for someone now in recovery, but that may actually be the salad one day, because that's what I feel. I don't have that now or never feeling either. Because I remember at some point it like flipped in my recovery, where at first in my eating disorder years, it was like, you can't choose all that. You can't choose this. You can't choose that. You end up with the iceberg lettuce and the dry chicken. And then it flipped into like, it's a now or never thing. So you pick, maybe the food that you like, that is the thing that you're never allowing yourself outside of a restaurant. But that meant that I ended up also, like, I had to learn at some point to be like, actually, you can choose what you want today in this moment. And on some days, that's going to mean that you want the burger, fries, pizza, massive bowl of pasta, whatever. It might mean that today you want the soup or the salad. And both are completely fine when everything's neutralized, right? The intention, of course, is really important here. But I remember like that switch at some point and being highly confused about like, but this is my now or never, right? If I don't have this here, I'm not doing this for myself at home, or I'm not going to come here and allow myself to have this if this isn't an occasion. Like, it's not justified.
But you still have rules. Like, you're more of the rules are still there are still rules there. Yeah.
And
I don't think I had that so much. Like, once it clicked that I needed to order what I wanted in that moment to be mentally and physically, I was able to do that. But also, generally, I'm not a super amazing chef. So,
what do you mean?
So, I love to cook. I'm not bad at it, but I know that they're going to do it better than I could at home.
Oh, I mean, this is their job. Come on. Yeah. We can also be kind to ourselves here. Like,
can I say something real quick about what you just said and about a salad? I'm not saying when people are recovered, they should never order salads when they're out. Like, that was an example and an anecdote that I would fall on because that was safe for me. But there are, go out to restaurants now where in that moment, in that place and time, I am craving something fresh, crunchy, flavorful, bright, colorful, whatever. Like, I am craving that and I will order a salad and I don't have any regrets. And that's what I need to satisfy me in that moment. So
actually, my partner is the one who modeled that for me. Like, for years, I was like in recovery, I was trying to challenge myself and then break the rules of the full restriction thing. Because then I could understand someone else eating salad. Then I went into that flip where it was like, this is now or never. And I would always be like, how could you actually choose? Like, do you actually want a salad? Like, my brain would be like, you probably don't want that, right? Like, and he would be like, yeah, I feel like it. And it was like, but you can have a salad any other, like, it's just so hard. But he has always been an intuitive eater. So to him, it was just like, well, that's how I feel like right now. And it took me so long to understand what that meant in practice, but it's so worth it.
I think there is a question I encourage people to ask themselves in recovery a lot when they're making food choices. And that is this choice coming from a place of love or fear? And if you're at a restaurant and you're ordering a salad, you can ask yourself, is this coming from a place of love or fear? And fear will feel like I'm listening to my eating disorder rules. I'm trying to keep this, maybe low calorie or keep it safe or whatever. That's the fear. And it sounds like your partner, he orders out of love for himself. Like, I'm in the mood for this. This sounds good. This is going to satisfy me, and so it's an interesting question to ask yourself when you're trying to get down to the intention of why you are ordering what you're ordering.
Intention is massive in terms of, where does this originate from? So I love the love or fear thing.
Yeah. With food, it's just clear. You could feel the energetic difference. Like, I can tell when someone's ordering a salad and it's a sad order. You can just tell. Like, I can tell when they're restricting because they're on some diet or whatever. And you're like, I don't know.
Also, you can see it on their face because when they see your dish, they're like, it's like
the FOMO. That was me though. That was my experience. So that's how it all transformed. And I think the restaurant experience is a really good example on a small level, how recovery transforms so many areas of life. And
I have one more thing
out there. Yeah.
that you reminded me of, like, because it's such a special moment, it had to be perfect. Like, I got angry so many times because I was like, oh my God, I wasted my calories and it wasn't even that great. Like, have you ever had that thought?
Yeah, I had that when I was.
Yeah. And it was like, and then there's this condition, like, if this is okay, it's only if it's like perfect. And, and it's like, you're not there for that. I mean, you're rarely out at a restaurant for this purpose. We're not, professional tasters or something. So, like, I went around that one several times, let's put it this way. But I'm so glad that's not there anymore, because it would create this amount of internal frustration that I can look at now and be like, well, that's a little bit absurd. Like, I say that with a lot of compassion, but it was a little bit absurd to be that frustrated about a dish not being quote unquote perfect or not exactly what I had expected it to be. Like, it's fine. It's also just food.
Right.
But yeah,
I think that's
incredible.
It sounds like, well, I know for a fact that perfectionist experience that you're looking for, or that perfect experience, it comes from that scarcity mindset, which is I rarely allow myself to eat. So when I actually allow myself, it better freaking be good. And like, you're just putting all of this pressure on this sad meal, hoping that it's everything you need it to be, because so much depends on this meal. Where when you have food all the time and it's plentiful and it's abundant and you're around it and there's no scarcity, that pressure on the meal goes away and it's just another meal.
But this is also where recovery can be harder than eating disorder years. Because when I was stuck in my eating disorder, I wasn't satisfied, but I was also not frustrated, because it's not like I had expected it to be fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, I approached a meal knowing I was not even trying to sort of, challenge something or whatever. But I remember the frustration of doing the thing and not liking it felt like recovery is failing me. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of makes it harder, because it's like, gah, I'm doing this thing and it's not even worth it. And in that sense, like, for me, it was hard to process that frustration, to be like, I'm trying to do this thing and, no return on this investment in one way whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I have a few clients who could totally relate to that idea right now, which is juice worth the squeeze? And you just have to trust that it is.
What is that saying? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
The squeeze. Have you heard it?
No. But I like it.
It works a lot in life. It basically translates to, is all this work and effort worth the result?
Was all the work and effort last night to doll yourself up and go out to dinner worth the result?
I'll tell you
what. Juice worth the squeeze?
The food was so good last night. And
there we go.
The food was amazing. Like, I'm like, okay, so I bought myself a nice dinner, but it was weird. I didn't even get the satisfaction of thanking him. Like, I love it after a date if a guy treats me, to thank them and like really show appreciation. And I actually really missed that I didn't have that opportunity. I know that sounds weird. I didn't even realize that till yesterday, but I was like, it's weird. I don't get to send like a thank you text or even say,
you can still thank him for the good time before paying the bill.
I understand, like, you can thank them for, but I don't know. It just felt like there was something missing. Like, I understand you can say thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. No, I'm just kidding. But it was like, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the food last night was so stinking good. I haven't had swordfish like that in a decade. And the mussels were really fun. It was really fun. Mussels, clams. I get them all confused. The ones in the big shells where you like throw them back. Mussels.
Is the shell black?
No.
That's mussels.
So what's the one where you're like, clam?
Oyster?
Oyster. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. I get them all in my head. They're all the same. I know it's the oysters, like the ones that are supposed
Yeah.
to could have
Yeah, they're
protein.
not the same. The oysters, you usually have them raw.
We were
The
doing
mussel,
that.
you don't.
Yeah. So
So
the oysters, I mean, that was a great experience. Honestly, I had the best time learning about the oysters, tasting them. And trust me, like when I was in my eating disorder, I would have never wanted to even go there with even having that experience. But it was awesome food wise.
so the juice was worth the squeeze.
The juice was worth the squeeze, I think, like, for the food.
You squeeze your wallet, but it was still worth it.
Exactly. I would have liked maybe you to be there. That would have been better, but you know what I mean?
You
Like
know,
that's
when you'll be in Brussels, I will take you out to have actual mussels, not the oysters. And then I'll take you to Brittany to have oysters because you can go to Brittany and they take them out literally on the shore and you can have them on the market just fresh out. They just open it literally just there for you.
how nice.
Outstanding experience.
I
So like al fresco, chill.
That sounds great. Do you put like the little
Oh, we've
add-on?
got plans. So when you're there, what they do is they just like, usually you buy them by half a dozen or a dozen. They just open them quickly for you and give you just the lemon. So you just squeeze a bit of lemon.
That's good too.
And then there's always a little stand that sells wine because of course you're in France. So
Yes.
you're going to get the wine to go with the toy.
Oh, next year after that retreat or before we can plan it, I'm going to Brussels. It's happening.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I got you.
Woo! All right. Well, have a beautiful day, and Claire. I think we should wrap this one up.
Let's wire it up. And well, you asked them their opinion about the thing of the beginning. Please let us know in the comments what you think of Meg's conundrum situation thingy and or, anything else about what we talked about.
Yeah. All right.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.